In this video, I'm going to show you what it's like to be a software engineer in Finland. Basically, I'm going to share one normal day of my life as a senior software engineer. But first, a little bit about myself and my background for those of you who don't know me yet.
My name is Milat and I'm a data engineer working in a game company in Finland.
I moved to Finland 5 years ago to pursue a PhD degree. But after 1 year, I slowly got dragged from the university world into the industry world. Basically, I had to start my life and career from scratch here. But to be honest, what really helped me build my career again was the experience and programming skills I had developed through many years before moving here.
Okay, that's enough for the introduction. Let's start the day.
In the tech world, work hours are usually flexible. But at the end of the month, we still need to complete the normal working hours, which is usually around 8 hours a day, including lunchtime. These days, many companies require employees to work at least a couple of days at the office, while the rest can be done remotely from home. But honestly, I personally don't like working remotely that much. Some people think remote work is easier because you don't have to work all the time. But in reality, what companies expect from you is often more than the actual hours you officially work. The boundary between your personal life and work slowly disappears. Suddenly, you realize you are still working at midnight because you spent part of the morning doing personal stuff. That's why I prefer going to the office almost every day. When I'm at the office, I focus only on work. And once I leave, I mentally disconnect from everything related to my job. Usually, I wake up around 8 o'clock in the morning, and it takes me around 30 minutes to get to work. I normally don't eat breakfast at home. Instead, I usually grab a small cake or pastry with black coffee at the office while checking the tickets and tasks planned for the day. One interesting thing about Finnish work culture, especially in tech, is that people generally respect your personal time and mental health. I think this attitude is common in many European countries. For example, if you are dealing with mental pressure or personal issues in your life, it's completely normal to see a therapist. And if needed, getting sick leave for mental health reasons is usually very straightforward. There is much less pressure compared to many other parts of the world. Every morning, we also have a quick daily meeting with the team to discuss what we are working on and what needs to be done during the day. If you work in tech, you hear words like Agile, Scrum, and Sprint all the time. To be honest, Agile is mostly a fancy name for something developers were already supposed to do naturally.
The basic idea is simple. You can plan work for the near future, usually 1 or 2 weeks ahead, and then adjust if urgent things appear.
Sprints, Scrum meetings, backlog management, all of these are built around that same concept. One of the hardest parts of being a software engineer, especially in a senior role, is estimating tasks and defining deadlines. There's actually a joke in tech that estimating tickets should be called guesstimating, because you never truly know how long a task will take until you start doing it. Maybe a bug looks simple, but then you spend 2 full days trying to understand why something keeps failing. Or maybe a task looks complicated, but you solve it in 1 hour. As a senior engineer, you're expected to become reasonably good at estimating timings. Of course, nobody expects perfect accuracy, but usually your estimate should not be off by more than around 20%. That's also one of the biggest differences between junior and senior roles. People often ask me what really separates a junior engineer from a senior engineer. If I want to simplify it, I would say it mostly comes down to responsibility. As a senior engineer, you are usually responsible for larger systems, bigger projects, architecture decisions, planning, and making sure everything works together properly. Meanwhile, junior developers usually focus more on specific tasks assigned by the team. And honestly, that responsibility can become mentally exhausting sometimes. By now, I've probably already had at least 2 cups of black coffee. Most of the day is just me staring at the monitor, fixing errors, testing systems, and trying not to lose my mind because of some confusing issue. From the outside, many people think being a developer or data engineer looks super cool. They imagine us building amazing applications from scratch every day.
But the reality is usually much less exciting. Most of the time you are just a small part of a much bigger project.
As a machine learning engineer, you might spend days trying to improve a model's accuracy by 1%. As a developer, you may spend hours fixing one tiny bug hidden somewhere deep inside the system. And sometimes the problem turns out to be just one missing comma. After a lot of banging my head against the wall because of continuous errors, it's finally time for lunch.
One thing I'm still not fully used to in Finland is the lunch timing. Finnish people usually eat lunch around 11 o'clock, but honestly, I still prefer having lunch around 12:30.
I also prefer bringing my own homemade food to work. First, because I can eat the kind of food I actually like. And second, because homemade food is significantly cheaper than eating outside every day. After lunch, I become unbelievably sleepy. Honestly, it becomes very difficult not to fall asleep while staring at the monitor. Then the next few hours continue exactly the same way. Testing, debugging, testing again, and trying to make sure nothing breaks. Of course, besides the daily meeting, there are usually many other meetings too. There could be company-wide meetings, department meetings, sprint planning meetings, backlog management meetings, and many more. And to be honest, I'm not really a fan of meetings. Sometimes they are useful, but many times they just interrupt your focus. One difficult thing about working at the office, even though I personally prefer it, is that people naturally expect communication and interaction. I'm not really someone who enjoys talking all day long, but I still try to keep good relationships with my colleagues and spend some time talking with them during the day. At the end of the day, they are also human beings, and these small interactions can actually have a positive impact when performance evaluations happen. The most productive hours in my day are usually around 10 in the morning and around 3 in the afternoon. That's when my focus is strongest. Because of that, sometimes I stay longer than expected and leave work around 6 in the evening. But the most important rule that keeps me from going crazy is this: when I leave work, I leave work. I don't continue working at home unless there is something extremely important, like a serious deadline or a critical issue that could negatively affect the project. Otherwise, I completely disconnect. And after work, my day usually splits into two parts. The first part is spending time with my family and taking care of normal responsibilities. The second part is working on my side hustles. That includes my SaaS applications, YouTube channels, testing new ideas, and trying to stay up to date with the tech world as much as possible. Honestly, balancing all these things is not easy at all. Sometimes it feels overwhelming, but more or less, I've managed to create some balance over time. As you saw, there is nothing very shiny or glamorous about the daily life of a software engineer. The easiest part and also the hardest part of this job is that you spend most of your day sitting in front of a monitor. It's easy because there is no heavy physical work involved, but it's also mentally exhausting because this job requires deep focus, clear thinking, and constant problem solving. And if something is wrong in your personal life, focusing becomes incredibly difficult. So forget some of the unrealistic things you see on social media. Developers sitting in cafes with luxury coffee while casually coding on their laptops. Sometimes this job comes with a lot of pressure, stress, deadlines, and even burnout. But at the end of the day, I can still say it's one of the best paying jobs out there if you truly know what you are doing and if you have valuable skills.